At the end of last month, millions of student loan borrowers got an email from the U.S. Department of Education. It said they were eligible for loan cancellation, with relief coming as soon as this fall. While this is exciting news, no one's celebrating just yet. President Joe Biden has tried to forgive student loans for 2 years now, but has repeatedly faced big setbacks. Last summer, his large-scale forgiveness plan that would have wiped out up to $20,000 in loans per borrower was squashed by the Supreme Court.
In the meantime, the Biden administration has managed to provide something around $170 billion in relief to almost 5 million borrowers through other initiatives, mostly improvements to existing programs like public service loan forgiveness, borrower defense to repayment, income-driven repayment, and disability discharges.
That's Adam Minsky, an attorney who specializes in helping these borrowers and their families. Minsky adds that the Biden administration is back with a new plan, and this time it may actually work. If successful, Plan B would provide relief to nearly 23 million Americans. Unlike the initial proposal, this revised strategy targets people who need it most. The original plan would forgive loans for nearly all 40 million student loan borrowers, only excluding those with extremely high incomes. By narrowing aid to specific groups, experts are hoping that it can survive challenges in court.
The Plan B initiative is going to target relief to different groups of borrowers who meet certain criteria. So that includes borrowers who first entered repayment at least 20 or 25 years ago, borrowers who may qualify for relief under existing programs but haven't enrolled yet or applied, borrowers who have experienced runaway interest accrual or capitalization or both. They might be able to get partial loan forgiveness. And finally, borrowers who attended what the Department of Education classifies as low-value institutions, schools that lost their ability to access federal funds for federal aid programs due to not meeting certain federal standards like student outcomes and graduate outcomes.
One reason the initial plan was struck down by the Supreme Court is that student loan servicers would lose massive revenue. The court also ruled that the Department of Education didn't have the authority to offer widespread loan forgiveness. And while many were disappointed with the ruling, there were others who supported the decision. For Americans who've already paid off their debt, loan forgiveness can feel unfair.
A common counter-argument that I've heard to that particular argument is an example like Social Security. Up until the existence of Social Security, people were largely responsible for supporting themselves in retirement, and many people couldn't. And we didn't not initiate a program like Social Security because some people had saved enough for retirement to not rely on government benefits. I understand the issue of fairness, but I think, we don't refuse to provide relief to some people because other people in the past haven't needed it. Many advocates for borrowers would argue that student debt relief is very much needed for people, in particular, as studies have shown that folks are putting off major decisions like buying a home, getting married, having children, in part because of the burdens of student debt.
And that burden can feel all-encompassing. Unlike other forms of debt, student loans are much more difficult to discharge in bankruptcy. For young adults saddled with $40,000 or $50,000 plus in loans, it can feel impossible to find a way out, especially with accruing interest adding to this debt. While Biden's plan will help people in this situation, it'll also help those in very different circumstances. According to an analysis by the People's Policy Project, the top fifth of households hold $3 in student loans for every $1 held by the bottom fifth. By forgiving loans, it's possible that the government could make the rich richer.
Student loan forgiveness provides more forgiveness for people who have more debt, which tends to be people in graduate school who will ultimately be, maybe you get an MD, you might be wealthy. And the statistics show that a greater percentage of the forgiveness dollars would go to wealthier individuals and a slightly higher percentage of the dollars to borrowers who are underrepresented minorities. But still, the percentage of borrowers receiving forgiveness would be disproportionately Caucasian.
That's Mark Kantrowitz, an expert on student financial aid, scholarships, and student loans. While Plan B may weed out some borrowers, it's still possible that taxpayer dollars will provide relief for some who don't really need it. Additionally, critics of student loan forgiveness say it incentivizes students to take out loans that they can't pay back. And with more students able to pay for college through loans, many worry universities will hike up their tuition rates.
From 2008 onward, loan limits didn't increase. Yet, tuition continued to increase at the previous rate. During 4 years of the Bush administration, the Pell Grant didn't increase, yet tuition continued to increase. So this idea that the availability of student loans or financial aid causes colleges to increase their tuition rates is incredibly weak.
As for students taking out an excess of loans, Kantrowitz says this can be avoided by implementing stricter, more reasonable student loan limits. Currently, many millions of Americans owe more on their loans than they originally borrowed because of added interest. The average student loan balance today is $38,000. But why is it the government's job to bail people out? Minsky argues that it's partly responsible for the situation getting this bad in the first place.
Congress, I think, over time has created increasingly complex programs that have really complicated rules. Those programs are then not always implemented appropriately at sort of the borrower level, which has resulted in borrowers being misled or being steered into programs that aren't particularly beneficial. And then there are numerous pitfalls and traps for people along the way. You do one thing wrong, you check a box incorrectly, and it can cause you to lose years of progress or restart the clock and everything or capitalize all your interest. People often just feel like, they can just never get ahead and that there's always something that is undercutting their ability to make progress on their student debt. The combination of this, creates a system that many people think is unfair, that many people feel like they can never get out of debt as a result, and it leaves people feeling trapped and in some cases pretty hopeless.
As for the current pending legislation, it's almost certain there will be challenges in court, but many borrowers are hopeful that relief will finally come this time around.
The 20 million or so who got that email message need to realize that it is speculative and anticipatory. So don't count on your loan forgiveness until it actually occurs. So don't take steps based on an assumption that you're going to receive forgiveness, and don't take steps based on an assumption that you won't receive forgiveness. Unless there is a compelling reason for you to switch into a different income-driven repayment plan, I would suggest just let things stay the way they are.
To find out more about Adam Minsky, Mark Kantrowitz, and all of our featured guests, visit viewpointsradio.org. For more behind the scenes and to support our show, follow Viewpoints Radio on X, Instagram, and Facebook. This segment was written and produced by Grace Galante. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Gary Price.